we live in a lucky state, right, where we get paid minimum wage.
Yeah.
Right, which I know it's crazy. There's only 6 states that do that. The other 44 states have a different minimum wage for service industry workers.
Yeah.
You know how much it is?
It's like $2 or $3 an hour.
$2.13. $2.13.
Dude, that's like almost like what prisoners make.
Yeah.
Like prisoners, when they make license plates and shit, like they get paid. Like,
What, do you know how they define who gets $2.13 an hour or not?
no.
They get, if you get paid, different states have different rules, but the most is $35 an hour in tips a month. So if you get $35 an hour tips in a month, you automatically get $2.13 an hour.
What?
Now the rule is, if you don't make minimum wage with the $2.13 plus your tips, so if they don't add up to $7 an hour or $7.50 an hour, then the owner must pay the difference. How often do you think that happens?
Never.
Yeah, it doesn't happen because because it goes by your sales. So unless you make no sales, you're done.
Yeah.
So people are making $2.
I never knew that that's how they did that.
Oh, it gets worse. Okay, it gets worse. So there's a bunch of states that just go. I'm going to call them the blind states. They're just doing what they're doing just blind-heartedly.
Is one of them Arkansas?
I'm going to get into that in a minute. Okay. So there's 3 states. There's golden states, which are us, where we make minimum wage. Right. Then there's the blind states, where you just go by the federal law, where you're making your $2.13 an hour plus your tips. Right. And then they have these other states. We're going to call them the dunce states. The dunce states are the ones where it's like, oh well, $2.13 an hour is a ridiculous wage to live on. So they up the money. Not the minimum wage. That's crazy. You're not giving a minimum wage. Why the fuck would you do that?
Yeah, no.
So they raise them up. There are 36 states where servers are making less than $5 an hour.
Yeah.
Right? 36 states.
Yeah.
17 of those states brought in laws to raise it from $2.13 an hour. Now, here are my 3 favorites. Arkansas.
Arkansas is number 1.
Arkansas is number 3, right? They're in my top 3 here. Arkansas, they brought in a law to raise the tax 50 cents an hour. So now they're not making $2.13, they're making $2.63.
Jesus.
Okay, what's this other state? Was it Wisconsin, I think it was? Yeah, Wisconsin, they raised it 20 cents an hour. But my number 1 is Delaware. Delaware raised the minimum wage for service industry workers by 10 cents. Okay? That means if they work a 40-hour week, they can bring home $4 more a week. That's not enough to make up 1 hour of minimum wage work.
Well, you're talking before taxes, too.
Before taxes. Now, this is where it gets even worse for Delaware. They raised their minimum wage in state tax, which means they're getting $8.25 an hour, which means that they actually raised the gap between the minimum wage and the service industry minimum wage.
Yeah.
So everyone else gets a raise, but you're getting 10 cents. Could you imagine the lawmakers that went in and they actually passed this law for 10 cents an hour thinking they did some good in the world?
No, they knew they weren't doing good. That's how rich people stay rich and poor people stay poor.
Why did they do it? What is the purpose of raising 10 cents an hour? That's the equivalent
because they had to raise it. So they're like, okay, fine, we'll raise it.
They didn't have to raise it. They didn't have to raise it.
What? I don't know.
I prefer living in one of the states where you get a fucking you get the $2.13 because it's less of an insult. It's like when somebody gives you a 25-cent tip on a $200 tab. You're just like, why bother?